My late husband had a son he never told me about. Now my daughter wants to know her brother. My life was turned upside down last month when I was informed of my husband's death in a work-related accident. This was hard enough to cope with, but shortly before the funeral a young man at my house, claiming to be my late husband's son, showed up. My husband didn't speak a word about him to me. He claimed to have not known about me or either of my daughters until he was notified of my husband's death and found the obituary in the online version of our local paper. The young man was 18 and must have been born before I met my husband. He also claimed his own mother died years ago and was never to his memory in a relationship with my husband. So the boy's existence is not proof of infidelity on my husband's part. However, I still feel just as betrayed. My husband never breathed a word of him to me. This boy lives in the UK where my husband sometimes worked. He traveled a lot in his line of work and I can't help but wonder how many other secret children he has. How many times did my husband visit this boy and never told me about it? What else was he not telling me? This boy had pictures with himself and my husband at various ages. He says he was brought up at a boarding school and my husband visited him sometimes. Though I very much want to, I have no reason to doubt his story. The boy asks to come to the funeral. I want to say no, but I feel like I have no right. My kids see me talking to this stranger and poke their heads in to ask what's going on. Before I can stop him, the boy introduces himself to them as their half-brother. Now not only do I have to figure out how to cope with all this information myself, but I also have to find some way to explain it to my children. My 8-year doesn't seem to get the full implications of her father keeping this kind of secret from all of us, but my 12-year is clearly upset, although she won't talk about it with me. At the funeral, the boy kind of lurked in the corner, but when lunch was served afterwards he approached both my girls and was playing games like tag with my 8-year and some of her friends who joined in. I didn't think this was appropriate, and when I told him, he apologized and said he did it to raise her spirits and it's what people did for him when his mother died, to cheer him up. Something about his answer irked me and I got the impression he was trying to manipulate me into feeling sorry for him and using my children to do it. My mom and my sister came over to help me after I got the news about my husband. Of course I talked to them about what was going on and they were shocked. My mom brought up the point that the boy might be after money. All of our important assets were in both of our names and I am the only beneficiary of his life insurance policy. But I was not sure what could happen if he tried to sue. I asked the boy frankly if money is what he was after and he said, "No, I couldn't take any of your money. You have kids to take care of." It irked me the way he said that, as though I was offering money and he was trying to show how good he was by turning it down. It felt as though he expected me to give it to him anyway. I asked the boy what he wanted and he said he wanted to get to know my children because they're his sisters. In my opinion, they might be his sisters, but he's a stranger to them regardless of biological relation. Apparently at the funeral he told my 8-year he was going to ask me if he could take my girls to the aquarium, and so that got her hopes up about it before I could even make a decision. I said yes only if my mom or sister went with them, because I wasn't about to let my girls go with a strange man no matter what. Over the next week he also took my girls to the park, ice cream place, and the lake, with my sister as a chaperone every time. I agreed to this and it was helpful because it gave me a chance to break down and cry to my mom without the girls around. When he left, my 8-year hugged him and told him not to go, and he said, "I promise I'll come visit again." I stepped in and said, "No, I think it would be best if you didn't come back here." He looked hurt and my 8-year cried, but I was sick of him promising things without getting approval. She thinks it's a cool mystery like from a TV show that she has a secret brother, and she doesn't realize how disturbing it is that her father hid his existence. My sister asked me later why I told him not to come back, and I told her I think the whole thing is weird. I don't know this boy or his real intentions. He could be some kind of weirdo trying to get my girls alone. My sister says I judged without ever getting to know him, and he seems like a very sweet young man. He grew up mostly without a family, and he could have been jealous that my girls got all his father's attention, but instead he wanted to connect with them. My opinion is that even if those are his intentions and he's totally innocent, I still don't want him around my home or my girls. To me he is just proof that my husband lied to me for years, and it makes me sick to look at him. My girls don't need this drama either, and even my 8-year is going to be traumatized once she is old enough to realize how much her dad was hiding. Me or my girls don't owe him anything. My sister says that I don't have to want him in my life, but I don't have the right to deny the girls their brother. She pointed out social workers do everything they can to avoid separating siblings because of the trauma. I said it's not the same thing because my girls have only known this brother for a week. My sister said it's also important because my girls' brother is now the only person they know of their culture. My husband was like 1/8 Hawaiian, the rest white and Asian, and so the girls and their brother are like 1/16. The boy appears to be white, and my daughters and I are black. But this boy was raised in the UK and he isn't part of Hawaiian culture, and honestly I think culture is something natural and not something to force because of your genetics. My girls don't live in Hawaii, they live in Oregon, so that is their culture. Not black culture or Hawaiian culture. I don't force myself or my girls to participate in African culture just because of our genetics. I thought my 8-year would get over her brother, and she did go several weeks without asking about him, but yesterday she asked about him again. I feel bad about ever allowing them to go anywhere together and bond. I wish I'd handled the whole thing differently, and now I don't know how to explain the situation to my kids. My 12-year hasn't asked about her brother, but she has been extremely closed off since her father's death, and I don't know how this issue might be complicating what she's feeling. Go to part 2.